Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to our second session of Are You Ready this summer? My name's Abby Dalton, and I'm going to be your host this evening. We are here in the Mosley Student Center, which is the hub for student activities here at Elon. Before we get started with the rest of our webcast, I'm going to go ahead and give our guests a chance to introduce ourselves. So, Randy, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Randy Williams. I'm the Associate Vice President for Campus Engagement, and I'm from Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney. I'm a rising junior from Knoxville, Tennessee, double majoring in strategic communications and international studies.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caroline. I'm a rising senior from Orlando, Florida. I'm a journalism major, minoring in professional sales and geography.
Hi everyone, my name is Kari. I'm a rising senior from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am a marketing major with a minor in communications.
Buenas tardes. My name is Matthew Antonio Bosch. I serve as the director for the Gender and LGBTQIA Center on campus, and I'm from Copig, Long Island, New York.
Awesome. So thank you again for joining us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about community at Elon and what that looks like in a various number of perspectives. But to start it off, we're going to talk a little bit about what inclusive community means here at Elon. So Matthew Antonio, if you want to kick it off for us.
Absolutely. So when we talk about inclusive community, a lot of times we're talking about students feeling validated in who they are, valued for who they will become, and victorious, meaning when the moment you enter 4 years later, you better be walking down that graduation aisle. And we do everything in our power to make sure that students feel that they will end up there at the end of their 4 years. We do this through our academic courses, through our diversity centers, and through a lot of our student organizations. When you come to Elon, you'll notice that you really combine and collide with people of just different identities, different backgrounds, different viewpoints than you. And we try our best to create safer and braver spaces so that there are people who have challenging views or people who have similar views to you, regardless of that you feel like you still can get a cultural exchange out of it, and that you both can connect and learn a bit more and kind of increase that personal growth that's so important as a college student.
Absolutely. And from a student perspective, do y'all want to share a little bit about how that looks like in the classroom, outside?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of the clubs and organizations here really do a lot of work to help bring it into inclusive environment to Elon. Like my sophomore year, there was like a Elon African Society. They had a whole week for just African culture. So bringing people in that don't really know about that kind of stuff really, I think, showed how inclusive our community is.
Definitely. And going off of that as well, I think Elon as a school is also very responsive to students' needs and what students need from the school. So we have some international students who recently told the school that they would really enjoy having an international student room with some resources for students to kind of congregate that are from kind of the global context of the world and everything like that. So they actually just put in an international students resource room into the Global Education Center, which is kind of one of the many examples of the way that Elon's really responding to the inclusivity that we're trying to build on campus as well.
And so, as everyone has said, inclusive community is so important here at Elon. And so you'll see many of these elements reflected also in our university honor code. And that in turn drives the code of student conduct. And so the 4 pillars of our honor code are honesty, integrity, responsibility, and respect. And so, as I said, these also drive our student conduct. And so, do y'all want to talk a little bit about how you've seen, how you've worked with that throughout your years at Elon?
Yeah, most definitely. So I think that the honor code is definitely present both inside and outside of the classroom, and you see that outside of the classroom with integrity. And people are very comfortable going to the library or in the student center and leaving to go grab a sandwich or to go to the bathroom. And they understand that people are respectful of their things, and it isn't an environment where you have to worry about that. People have integrity and they have respect of other people's belongings and their space. That's a way that it isn't just seen inside the classroom. The honor code is posted in all of the classrooms, but it's definitely a theme that extends way beyond the classroom.
It's very prevalent in like the schoolwork as well. Like I've noticed that we have like online tests and quizzes, and even in like the in class tests, even our teachers like leave sometimes to go take care of other work. But students still are able to focus and not cheat off of anybody else. So I think having that as one of the biggest factors at Elon really helps out.
You know, I've heard students talk about how it's actually not something that limits you, but it's actually empowering to have be in a culture that has an honor code that everyone is aware of and they tend to abide by it. And so it gives a sense of, well, I can explore more and I can do these things and I can have the understandings and being taught the limits of what I can and what I can't do here. And so they'll get a chance to practice and some of the capabilities and all the resources that are here. And so it's really an empowering and enabling resource rather than something that will limit students. So I think that's an aspect to consider when thinking about the honor code.
Absolutely. I agree. And all new students will get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the honor code in the We Belong session that every new student will go through come their time in August. And so there'll be plenty more time to go over elements like that. We also are going to move on and talk a little bit more about student engagement and what that looks like. So Randy, would you like to talk a little bit about?
Sure, sure. And student engagement, just so that we're on the same page and we have some shared language here, just thinking about the degree to which college or university creates opportunities for students to be stimulated to affect their learning. And so that can come through the forms of interactions through forums or in-class discussions or discussions around the dining hall table or interactions with clubs and organizations. So things and opportunities that will make one ask why and make them more curious. And so sometimes in an educational setting, having students and also colleagues and faculty and staff to ask the questions of like why that will stimulate curiosity. And so the degree to which a campus can create that type of setting where students are more inclined to learn and want to learn more and continue to ask that question why and how and what can we do differently. And so these things are also replicated in society on a larger scale. And so this is a good practice ground, a laboratory, if you will, for learning to learn and to be stimulated. And so with our faculty engagement and with our Elon experiences, I mean, there are a number of things that just makes you want to learn more. And as you learn more, you get to figure out, hey, how can this be applied? You know, how can I contribute this in my club and organization? Or how what I learned from my club and organization can I bring from a practical perspective to the classroom? So that will enrich the classmates' experiences as well as support some of the findings and some of the research that faculty members may have. And so when you think of that, when it's happening in the classroom, it's happening on the athletics field, and it's happening in the clubs and organizations, it heightens that sense of student engagement, thereby stimulating learning across the board for students. So this is a great place to do this. It's not just for students, it's so we can say faculty staff engagement when you think of it that way, you know, asking questions and wanting to know more.
And I think one of the biggest avenues or arenas for that is within the residential neighborhoods. And so do students want to share a little bit about where you maybe lived in your first year?
Yeah, I can start. Just to give a little basis understanding of the neighborhoods, there are 4 different residential neighborhoods and the options. So Global, Historic, Colonnades, or Danile. I lived in the historic neighborhood in West, and it was a wonderful experience for me. And that around me on my floor, I had students from California, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Florida. So you not only got geographic differences, but different kinds of cultural and background differences. So just even the little things like how you pronounce things or different kinds of food you eat or what your family life is like. You're really learning about who people are, where people come from, and realizing that the world is just so much bigger than your one town or your one state or your one high school. So that's what I really found in historic and in my first year experience.
Sure. I mean, I also lived in the historic neighborhood. I lived in Sloan Hall, and I really just think that my whole hall just like got along. Like we're all still best friends even 4 years after, and so living on that hall style, like having those type of activities in our hall, like we painted murals. We actually even put up like pictures of ourselves on the wall, just to, like make fun of each other. So having all that and being so included, I think really just shaped my whole freshman year. I love that.
So I'll go ahead and round things out. I also lived in historic, and I also lived in West Halls too. So West is best. You know, we're trying to stay unbiased, but West was also my home my freshman year. And I would say something also about our residential neighborhoods that I really loved is how we have themes for every single residential neighborhood. So especially for historic, definitely the hub for first year students, where we have the campus traditions as one of our main themes. Having a birthday party for West every single year. That was one of the things I still remember from my freshman year is how we celebrated West's birthday. And there was community members that came out who had lived in West. And they were telling us about some of the shenanigans they got up into in West Dormitory too. So it's kind of cool to see how even alumni were engaging in that aspect, as well as the entire historic community coming together as well. And also just having food that people could bond over, eating dinner together and stuff like that was really great as well.
Fantastic. And just to give a different perspective, I lived in Danile Neighborhood in my first year, and the theme for that was wellness and health. And so they had a bunch of activities, and they would have dodgeball tournaments and lots of things to be involved in with that. And it was a little bit of a different setup. It wasn't a hall style. And so I lived in, it had a pod. So I lived with a bunch of other girls, but it was an incredible experience. It was different than your typical historical hall style, but I absolutely loved it. And so outside of residence halls, there's also tons of opportunities to get involved and to really immerse yourself in everything that Elon has to offer. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Elon is just the incredible opportunities and things that you can try out and get involved in. And so if we want to talk a little bit about some things that y'all have been involved in that have made an impact on your Elon experience.
Yeah, of course. So I like to say and joke that if you're just going back to your residence hall after your classes and watching Netflix, then something is wrong because you're not seeking out your opportunities. Elon has more than 200 clubs and organizations and honor societies that you can be a part of, and there's definitely a fit for you. And the org fair, you can find that. I went to the org fair my first year, and it was just so exciting by all the different things I saw, opportunities, and I had clubs and organizations in high school, but to have like more than 200 and different things you never realize, like, oh, this could be a club. You know, I think that also just the opportunities to service and volunteer outside of Elon was really great. With Elon volunteers, there's just so many avenues, whether it's volunteering at an animal shelter or doing lunch buddies where you go have lunch once a week with a student from elementary school, Habitat for Humanity. It's really all there. And then you can definitely find your niche and find people who share the same values and interests, or just try something new as well.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that it definitely has become a bit of a buzz phrase here has been intellectual climate. And so I feel like while certainly we're looking for a variety of opportunities to connect on the social level, a lot of us are community members, and I'll use students, faculty, and staff. We're all part of sort of building that intellectual climate so that as we're thinking a bit broader about connecting with one another, about more pop culture types of things or more about connections, many of the realities are that we're also talking about deep issues that are happening, whether that's in the local community, politically, what's happening in our country, things abroad, right? And so as we're sort of connecting with others, we're recognizing we are building this stronger sense of intellectual climate, and that's sort of a result of just simply connecting with folks through your student organizations or through your residential neighborhood. So I feel like that's a big piece, that the intellectual climate, it's something that's such a hallmark of Elon that I think maybe not a lot of other universities really quite go into depth, as much depth as they could.
I love that point, especially because one of my favorite things to do on Elon's campus is we have cultural events. So we have speakers that come in, and we'll have like movies or something like that. But after the events, a lot of people don't know that we have college clatches, or coffee clatches, where afterwards there's coffee and snacks and desserts and stuff like that, and you can kind of engage in a conversation about the cultural event you just went to. So if you saw a speaker, maybe talking to other students about that as well. And those are some of my favorite conversations I've had on campus, is kind of dissecting like, oh, that was really great that I saw a speaker, but if you're just going back to your dorm, you're kind of missing the opportunity to connect with other people that really had opinions and thoughts on the speakers as well. So that's definitely something about Elon that I've really enjoyed going to.
Yeah, many times when we have those speakers come to campus, we get a full experience with them, So we have the guests attend a class session or maybe have dinner with a group of students and then have the actual performance. And then we have the coffee class, right? So you get a full range of opportunities to engage with a guest and someone with their expertise and their perspectives. And it gives us an opportunity to vet those perspectives, and students then get into that whole engagement, that student engagement piece, that intellectual climate, asking those questions, the curiosity. So it is very stimulating to see that. And that seems like there's a culture or practice here at Elon for trying to get the most of our visits in our programs so that students can have those opportunities to be triggered and be stimulated to greater levels of intellectual status.
And I didn't mention at the beginning of the webcast, but if you have any questions throughout the rest of the program, please feel free to submit them to us. We actually just got our first question in, and they asked, what if my roommate and I don't get along? Can provide some light on.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I think we have the roommates agreements that you have to fill out with your roommates. So establishing like when people come into your room at times, when people usually go to bed, cleanliness of the room. So I think having that and setting that as your baseline for how you want to engage going on for the whole year, I think is really important. But there are times where that doesn't work. So I think Residence Life does a really good job of matching you up with a new roommate if that happens.
You also have the RA there that is a nice neutral mediator. So if something
Right.
does go wrong, you can always go to them. They can hear your perspective, and they've been trained for that situation, and they know what to do. They know how to respond, and they know the best way to move forward for that. So it isn't like you're just going in kind of all alone. You have resources and support available.
The next question we have is, how do I know what my campus box number is, and how soon can I start to mail things there?
OnTrack, definitely your friend.
Yes.
Yes.
Everything you need can be found on OnTrack. But specifically, if you go log on to your OnTrack account with your Elon username and password, and you go under academic profile, and then you go under my profile, your campus box should be listed on the right side of the screen, I believe. And so residence assignments will be finalized as of July 27th. And so at that time, your campus box would be available for you to see on your OnTrack account. So you may not be able to see that right now, but anytime past July 27th, you should have access to that. And so as soon as you have access to your campus box, you can go ahead and start sending things to the mail center. If you live very far away and would like to send some packages for you to be able to pick up on move-in day, I know that that's very, very helpful. And so you can start sending those once you have your campus box information. Our next question is, what can I be doing now to prepare academically for life at Elon? Advice.
The common reading.
Yes. The common reading.
Yes, Just Mercy. That's the common reading. And so I definitely think that's going to help you get fully prepared. There'll be lots of conversations you'll be having, even across orientation week about that. Make sure to read up on the orientation schedule as well. And part of it too is just coming in with a sense of not feeling really rigid. And maybe this gets to some of the roommate things too. Like if you enter college feeling like you're exactly going to be the exact person that you came in as, then you're doing it wrong. You've got to give grace. You've got to be allowed, allow yourself time to do things differently, time to compromise here and there for the greater good. And so I think whether that's giving grace to your roommate who might play the stereo a little bit too loud, or opening up that communication channel, or trying a completely different thing. I was a linguistics major in college. We didn't have linguistics in high school. I didn't even know I was good at it until I took a course here, which was a complete random elective. And so that's sort of a bit of, try to open yourself up a bit. I think that's a really strong message for folks to prepare a bit academically.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you mentioned, try something different than high school, because it's good to continue with something if you're really good at something, if you want to continue your history major, your interest in that, but also don't be afraid to do something totally different. I am very involved with orientation, and I never thought coming in to Elon that that would be a major part of my life, but it has. And I think just the leadership opportunities and the growth and the people that I've met through it have really made me who I am and strengthened my leadership opportunities and my growth. And you never know what's going to come your way. And I think that it's fun to look back and say, wow, I never was going to do that. I never was going to do that. And here I am. And I surprised myself. And I think that people are really surprised as you're growing in college. You're always growing and changing.
I would also add on to that, also have maybe some strategies prepared for balancing kind of schoolwork, social life, maybe trying to find a fitness plan or something like that. Because sometimes it can be hard. You come to school and you're like, there's so many things to do. I have my classes. I have so much free time now. Like, what do I do in between class for 2 hours? Should I nap or maybe actually do some homework or something? So having some strategies in place where you're like, okay, like I know at this time, maybe this is free time to me, but what can I be doing in my free time to really make sure that I'm giving myself a great balance in what I'm doing in my time at Elon as well. It has been really helpful for me, especially because Elon students can be a little over involved sometimes. So having that, those kind of strategies in place can really help you make sure you're getting the most out of every aspect of your Elon career as well.
And just, can I add a general tip to
Yeah,
that?
yes.
To fill that time, I would always suggest making use of your professor's office hours, because people see on the syllabus like, oh, they're there for 4 hours, maybe I'll stop by, and then you forget. But I think to really respect that time, that they're sitting there and they're waiting for their students to come in, and I think it'll really show if you come in as a first year student and build that relationship and build those mentorship opportunities, because you never know where a relationship with the professor will go. That could go to research opportunities or a possible internship or networking, and just a good mentor to have and help and guide you through your growth and your academic and personal growth at Elon. I think it's important to make use of that, and don't be afraid to chat with your professors, because they're great people who really like being at Elon and like Elon as well.
Yeah, I would support all of those things in regard to getting prepared academically for starting a career at Elon. And I would add, I mean, we could probably share a lot of ideas and thoughts, but I would just share too, just getting in a state of mind of expanding perspectives and seeking to understand more perspectives. You know, you may come in with a certain set of experiences, background, and information, but so I wonder what the person next to me thinks as well. What set of experiences, background, education does that person have, and so on and so forth, and being able to engage in these types of conversation. And I think that what really strengthens an academic intellectual community is when you're able to come in with your experiences, your perspectives, share those in a compassionate, non-abrasive type way, but also then be receptive to other perspectives as well. And so then as you look at all these perspectives that you have on the table, what sense can I make of this, you know, and what sense does this make, including what the professors are sharing, what your faculty members are sharing, and then that will sort of influence and guide behaviors and decisions that you make. So, and that's one way I think of helping you get academically prepared.
The next question that we had was, I heard the common reading author will be coming to Elon. Do I need to get a ticket? The speaker will be coming to campus. And with your Phoenix card, you can go to the box office and there will be tickets available for admission to their talk. But as you were talking about earlier, there'll also be sometimes the opportunity for them to come to classrooms, or there will be other avenues to get to interact with them from their visit on campus, which is exceptionally valuable.
Sure.
I know.
Go ahead.
So my first year on campus, when I did the common reading and we had our speaker come to campus who was the author, I remember we had some Q&A sessions where maybe we could prepare some questions about his life and experience and how it impacted writing the book and stuff like that. So those were my favorite memories of. We saw him speak, but I really appreciated the Q&A sessions where I was able to ask him some very more, I guess, personal questions as well. So maybe have some of those questions ready as well. Preparing academically.
Right, absolutely. And just thinking of the themes within this year's common reading book, and we're in an election year, right? So being able to take this from an academic lens, that's something that's assigned to you for common reading in, as well as the context of the nation and what we're going through as far as the political season. And it's going to be a lot of the themes are going to be spoken in debates and in other forums and by political pundits and well seen in the book. And so I also know that Brian Stevenson, the author of this year's book, has a number of video clips, TED Talk as well. So things that students can now take a look at and become more familiar to sort of support what's in the book. Even though it's a first year reading book, a number of other clubs and organizations are taking a look at this, and academic departments, administrative departments too, are taking advantage of this opportunity to explore some of these salient issues that are, real time, real day for, the United States.
Absolutely. The next question that we had is, can y'all talk a little bit more about time management and how long it took for you to figure out your schedules?
So we touched on this a little bit briefly back a couple questions, but I would say the most important thing for me, I figured out about the third week of school, kind of got it down, was keeping a planner on my phone. So everybody always, for the most part, has their phone available to them at all times. So I made sure I scheduled even when I was going to go to the gym, or when I was going to study at night, or when I was going to take a shower and stuff like that, which is a little micromanaging your schedule a little bit. But I found for myself, I loved having okay, this is when I'm going to do this, and I can be flexible about moving it around. But it showed me kind of, this is how your schedule is going to break down, so I didn't feel overwhelmed when I had meetings and stuff like that going on as organizations started popping up. So that was just my tool. I didn't really keep a plan or anything like that, but having it on my phone was super helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Having the phone. I think on OnTrack you can download your calendar for all your classes. So having that, and I think it sets a reminder 15 minutes before to go to class and stuff. So having that, I think, was really important to me. And then also, I think going to the library, all the other study places that were available on campus really helped out. So
Yeah. And I definitely remember taking advantage of study groups within my classes. It was a little overwhelming for me my first semester with some of the coursework and thinking, oh gosh, is it really this challenging for everybody else? And how is everybody else feeling? But to get in that study group session where you talk about the material, and you're talking about the tests, and thinking, okay, everybody else is figuring it out too, and we're all kind of in this together. And that was great for me to have other peers that I not only were classmates with, but became friends with, and it was a good way to develop both academically, intellectually, and socially. So definitely take advantage of those study groups, or even initiate yourself. The people sitting around you in class, oh, do you want to study for this test?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And another thing is every student will receive an Elon files upon checking in on move-in day. And so this is a student planner that everyone will have. And so it's an agenda of sorts. So you can write down assignments, classes, meetings, anything you have. So I still love to handwrite everything. I can't keep it on my phone. So that's also a great resource for you to be able to use. It's also got a lot of information about Elon in it, which is great. So it's very helpful in terms of time managing, keeping track of your schedule.
Yeah. Another thing that's going to be exciting this year is the new app, the Phoenix Connect. That's going to be really helpful in so many ways for students to stay on top of things, be more informed of what's going on campus. And so I can see that as being a tool to help with time management as well. So the Phoenix Connect app will be really, and this is from the students that wanted this. And so now we will have it this year. I know we've been working with consultants and getting ready for this coming year for that Phoenix Connect app.
Would you like to explain a little bit more about what the Phoenix Connect app is?
Yeah, just a little bit I can share with it. I know we're still rolling it out and getting some training on this and working with the consultants and the company with that. But essentially what we want to do is have a better platform for communicating with students and having students know what's going on campus so they can get involved. This past year, we worked through the social climate and out-of-class engagement experiences. And so a lot of this, so students have these times where there was these sort of lulls in their schedules what can we fill those with? And so making sure that they're aware that this is going on in this particular part of campus, and you have this app. And so you can sort of register and create your own profile. Here are the type of events and programs that you're interested in. And so you sort of follow those events, and then so you get alerts and notices about this and become members within different clubs and organizations. So it's really interactive and really, can be customized to your personal self. And so I'm looking forward to it. I mean, faculty and staff will have access to this as well. And so it can help keep students in line and in regard to their schedule, So I think that will be a good tool in regard to time management.
I'm excited for that. Yeah, very excited. All right. Our next question is, what if I'm a shy student? Where should I go to make meaningful friendships?
I guess starting on the hall. I mean, your residence hall is really probably your first place you'll probably be on campus. So making those friends on your hall, they're your closest friends probably in proximity. So getting to know them better, I think, is really important.
And recognizing that also too, that you're not the only one. I mean, this is not a place of 6,000 extroverts, right? Like that's just not happening. We have plenty of students who come in who are shyer, some who are introverted, and there's no problem with that, and they have no problem connecting with other folks as well. So whether it's through the residential neighborhoods, whether it's through student organizations, whether it's just through the place that you're sitting in, in the dining hall, you might be sitting next to someone, you might just notice that someone next to you is also sitting by themselves. And I've seen friendships connect like that out of thin air. And so I think there's times where you might think you're the only one, but you're not. We're all sort of meeting brand new people for the first time ever, and that can be a little nerve-wracking. But I think the best piece of it is knowing that you're not the only person there. There are other folks who want to reach out. If you're thinking to yourself, "Gosh, I wish I had like another friend or another person to talk to," look across the hall. Someone else is thinking that exact same thought. So, what's your role in making that friendship happen? Taking that first step.
Good advice. I like that.
And I think there's also just so many built-in kind of small cohorts that you have at Elon. You have your hall, as you mentioned, and then you also have your Elon 101 group, which is a group that you'll be with your entire first semester at campus. Every class you have, obviously we have small class sizes, so it's not too hard to make friends when you're sitting next to someone and there's only 20 students in the class. Super easy to create those conversations. And then just outside of the academics as well, having those cohorts that are kind of built in just through what you get involved in. There's always a way to kind of break into those areas without having to be like, I'm joining a 100-person club. Where do I start? This is so terrifying. Having some of those small communities already built in is easier, I think.
Yeah. That's something that I never thought about before coming to Elon, or I was mostly just friends with people in my grade in high school, so all the seniors, we were friends. I had some friends of different grades, but when you get to college, it's really, oh, you're a senior. Okay. It isn't that different. And I think it's awesome as you can form mentorship roles, but also just become friends with people, and they've had experience to be on, and people are willing to connect, and grade level or year really isn't a barrier. So I would say not be afraid if you have a TA or just somebody who's older in the class, just to reach out, because I think that at least I am, but we're very excited for the incoming class. We're excited for them to come. We're excited for them to have this Elon experience and then to become the future leaders of Elon. And so we're just very excited to have them and excited to welcome them.
Perfect. Those were so true. We're so excited to welcome everyone. That's it for the questions that we've gotten in tonight. But go ahead and make sure to tune in to our last Are You Ready session. It's going to be on August 3rd, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about orientation and what you can expect coming in August. But in the meantime, make sure that you're registering for orientation. The deadline for that, the registration will close on August 5th. And so make sure that you're going online, registering for orientation, and also checking out the Are You Ready website. There's tons and tons of great materials to be looking through. Information about deadlines, information about anything that you could possibly need. So definitely go and check out the Are You Ready website. But that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.